Well, howdy, nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this a brand new day wherein I still have to contact my nephew to see about getting my new computer parts all installed. So, oh, I love executive dysfunction so very much. It is dark-ish outside, so I think there's like either deep fog or cloud cover or something. Yay. And oh boy, my insomnia has been so just joyous. I barely slept last night. I spent the last 2 hours before getting up at 6 just flipping and flopping in bed, just turning every 5 minutes over, and finally just couldn't take it, got up and yay. But hey, front-loading good videos. If you could toss me a like, that'd be very awesome. If you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be cool too. If you could leave me a comment, any comment, that would be double plus good. And of course, I'd like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons for helping to keep me and my aging pet alive. Both of us appreciate that very much. We're both aging. We need all the help we can get. Very, very much. Thumbs up and thank you. If you'd like to help keep me and my aging pet alive, I have links to my Patreon in the video description, along with a PayPal for possible donations, an Amazon wishlist link with things like aging pet food on it, and there's a post office box with, you know, if anybody sends me anything at all, I will open it up on camera and we will all go, hey, very, very cool, because thank you. And hey, front-loading a video's over. Oh boy, I love insomnia so much. I have been falling asleep every single day, partly because of gluten. I can't stop eating gluten products, and partly because I've just not been sleeping. Ugh, gotta love that. Still though, life is life. And yesterday I did some things. I played some video games. I walked to Walmart. I did some creative thinking, and that's very, very good. Part of something I wanted to mention is the other time I was talking with my therapist, because I do therapy online. I used to drive to Olympia, but then things started happening with weather and such, and then it was harder to drive there, and eventually it was easier just for us to do it online. So I stay here, we connect online, and we just do therapy that way. Because especially with me not having a working vehicle, I can't get to Olympia so that I can have therapy there in person. But we were talking about various this, that, and the other, and talking about the future, and he asked me, you know, because I talk about my age, my encroaching mortality, and how people that are like even just 5 years older than me are dying of old age. And so he asked me, what am I going to do when I can't take care of myself anymore? Which is a very valid question. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and I don't really have anybody. I'm just me. But for the moment, I said, I'm okay right now. After all, every single night, I make a 6-mile walk to Walmart and back. 6-mile round trip. 3 miles there, 3 miles back. And periodically when I go there, I walk the 3 miles, buy a 20-pound container of cat dirt along with other things, and then I walk it back home those 3 miles. And he was just, oh, you're golden, you're golden. That ain't gonna be forever. I mean, for right now, I'm doing okay. I'm still vital and going out and marching around and doing things, but that ain't gonna last forever. Especially since with all the nerve damage and stuff I got throughout my body because my very bad back and then my years as a nurse's assistant. Oy vey, I have chronic pain, weakness, and fatigue. The weakness is largely from the nerve damage. A lot of the pain is from the nerve damage. The fatigue, I got something. I have been diagnosed as having fibromyalgia. The longer that I've been dealing with this, I don't think that it's fibromyalgia, but there is something that's adding on the chronic pain on top of everything I have, chronic fatigue on top of everything else, and chronic weakness on top of everything else. There's something. I just don't know what it is. Fibromyalgia, I occasionally have hot spots that show up, just like if you have fibro, but I don't have a lot, and they're not always there. So, I don't know. Life is life. And let me take a look on here to see if there's anything else that I have. Oh yes, I've talked about this a lot because, as I've mentioned, I don't have a horse in this race. I haven't played actual Dungeons and Dragons itself for decades. I stopped playing actual Dungeons and Dragons before I even went into the Air Force. And I went into the Air Force in 1982 was when I started. By that time, I had gone through Dungeons and Dragons and then was on to other games like RuneQuest and such like that. So I was already branching out and trying new things and had already not played. I liked the game, it's just I was on to do new and different things. So I haven't had a horse in this race for a long time. But it's a hobby that I like, and watching one of the major players do this is just, it's sickening, especially since I've mentioned how they're trying to make the next version of Dungeons and Dragons digital. Not completely physical, but largely digital, so that they can microtransaction this thing to death. But this OGL, this open game license, which is not an open game license, it has destroyed the community right now. I mean, nobody is happy. Everybody's turning away from it. If this continues, they could kill any hope of the future. It won't die immediately, but AD&D 4.0, I've mentioned how it's not even talked about. They got rid of the open gaming license for 4.0 AD&D, and it died horribly and fast. Nobody talks about it. Nobody did anything for it. One of the things that WotC, Wizards of the Coast, doesn't like about this is the open game license says if you don't like what happens in the future, you can continue using the old stuff. So when 4.0 came out and it was such a restrictive license, everyone just stuck with 4.0. 3.5, which is one of the reasons that 4.0 just died. So restrictive, nobody made anything for it. Now, of course, the new thing says, okay, everything else that we've ever said before, that's unauthorized. Now, it doesn't matter what product you're making. If you are making any product for any version of any of our games, you signed this thing here. And the bad thing about this is they haven't even released this open document yet, but apparently the deadline for signing it is the 13th of this month. They haven't even sent it to anybody yet. And if you don't sign it, you can't make a product for them. It is destroying the community. Everyone is just saying, I was making a product, I'm not making it for this anymore. There's one of the big things, apparently there's like Critical Role, a YouTube channel. They make TV shows, they make games, they make video games, they make a lot of stuff. They're scrubbing all mention of Dungeons and Dragons. They are getting rid of it. They are not going to be doing Dungeons and Dragons anymore. They are killing this golden goose. It is sad. Really, really sad. But life is life. Now, one of the things that I really want to talk about is it's on my creative setting, and in this particular one with the cryptid stuff. Once again, I follow my subconscious where it goes, and while I was walking to Walmart last night, I was thinking about this one ethical cryptid. You know, I've talked about this the past couple days, where the ethical cryptid, who has never hurt any human being before, never killed any human being, never eaten a human being, they bring him into this ethical thing, and he ends up eating all 23 of the human beings that were there. Each and every day, another human being, not all at once, of course. But it's still, I thought that would be funny. While I was out walking and thinking about that, I suddenly realized what would make it even funnier, because, hey, the mass murder of 23 human beings isn't funny enough on its own. It has to be made funnier. Telling it from sort of the cryptid's point of view, but also the point of view of a different character suddenly made it absolutely hysterical, because this person is just being destroyed mentally and spiritually by psychological torture. And that just makes it funnier than hell. I'll explain all of this, because you say it that way, boy, that sounds terrible. The mass murder of 23 human beings and the psychological torture of another one. Yeah, that sounds funny as all get out, doesn't it? But again, human death can be hysterical. As I think it was Florimir had mentioned, or someone like that, I'm very sorry, my brain, how I mentioned, you know, it's dark humor and such like this. And then, of course, there's the Too Many Cooks video that was on Adult Swim that had a lot of human death in it, and it was funny as all hell. So, yeah, human death can be hysterical. After all, Mel Brooks defined comedy and tragedy pretty easily. I mean, not easily, succinctly. With tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall into a sewer and die. So, yeah, comedy and tragedy are pretty close. But what I figure is this cryptid is, he keeps going to one of the bars in Khmer Rouge Manor and talking to Roy, the human bartender there. And Roy gets to hear what's happening with this ethical cryptid every single day when the guy comes into the bar after their day of trying to be ethical. Like, they're pretty excited about this, you know, the first day talking about, oh gosh, you know, here I've been chosen for this study. I'm going to go in there and help there. I've lived among human beings. I've worked among human beings. I have dated human beings. Now we're going to be studying ethics, and I'm pretty thrilled about this. I can't wait. And then the next day, he just comes in, he's like, oh my God, I don't understand. I'm not sure if I'm being pranked. I don't know if I'm being punked. I don't understand. And it's talking with Roy, the human bartender, about how, yeah, I went into the building where they told me to go. It was an automated sign-in at the reception desk, and I followed the hall down to this one room. I was greeted by the researchers. They introduced me to this young woman. I introduced myself. I said, don't worry, I'm a white cryptid. I have worked with and dealt with human beings. I have never hurt or killed anybody. There's no danger. Glad to meet you. I'm excited about the project. And then when they left us, it was a stack of 5 yellow Lego, 10 yellow Legos. And our last thing we had to do was, they were leaving us with 5 minutes to ethically and morally divide those Legos between the two of us. And Roy is like, well, what the hell are they even doing with that? How did look, I'm a human being. I don't even understand what they're trying to do with this. This sounds like a recipe for disaster. What happened? What went on there? And the cryptid is just, while she was looking at the Legos, trying to figure out all this stuff, I'm busy dealing with the actual ethical and moral ramifications of what is going on, the larger picture. I've got to deal with this in the most ethical and moral fashion, in what I know is right. You know what I had to do? And Roy, the bartender, says, well, I don't know what you would have done. I don't know what you did. I'm a human being. The only way I can see out of this, I would have eaten her. And Everett, the crypt, is just, that's the thing. That's the thing. I have talked to many human beings on my way over here from the research center. Every single human being has answered just like you. I ate her. It was the only way out of this thing. There was a lot of screaming, a lot of thrashing, a lot of blood. I mean, I ate her without her consent, but there was no other way out of this ethical and moral dilemma. And everyone in the bar is just like, well, yeah, because everyone's listening, even though he's talking to Roy. It's like, well, yeah. And Roy is just, I don't see what else they expected. How could they expect anything else? And Everett says, I know. They painted me into a corner with only one ethical and moral way out. And when I took it, they were upset. They were angry at me for choosing the only choice that they left. I don't understand. I'm going in again tomorrow. I'm going to see what they're doing. But I feel like I'm just being pranked. 7 days into this, where every day it's the same thing. They just introduce him to a new young woman, give them an ethical thing, and the only way out that he can see on this is to devour the poor young thing, is to just strip her of her autonomy and agency, strip her of her will to survive, and then just consume her bodily and entirely. That's the only way out, and it's tearing him apart. He's never hurt a human being before. He has never eaten another human being. Not another human being, a human being. And here, in the past 6 days, he has eaten 6 people. He can't sleep. He can only see the terror on these young women's faces as he eats them alive. But there's no other way to get out of these ethical conundrums. And so he comes into the bar on the 7th day. He is just barely holding it together, and he's just, I need a drink. I need something. I have never been so humiliated in all of my life. They reduced me to an animal. And the story is, he's gone to the same building, same reception, same hallway, the same room with the same table and the same chairs, the same researchers. The only thing that changes is a new young woman they introduce, and it's just, he can't take it. This is just, it's like being in a nightmare. He's being, if you've seen the Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day, it's just, he can't take this. And so when it's the exact same thing again, I broke it. I lost myself. I just fell upon the young woman right there, and I ate her right in front of the researchers. I didn't even wait for them to tell me what her name was. I tore her apart. I ate every last bit. I even licked off the blood from the floor, and when I got up, there were tears of rage and humiliation falling out of my eyes. I looked to them and I screamed, "Is this what you want? Is this what you want of me?" I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I can take this anymore. But I'm going in tomorrow. I've got to see what's happening. This is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So yeah, he's losing his mind from the psychological torture of what's happening. And so by the time he gets up to the end of the whole 23-day period, he is barely holding it together. And yeah, the mass murder and consumption of 23 innocent human beings, and it's killing him inside. And of course, I had to laugh because it's like, well, yeah, well, of course the psychological torture is necessary, because the fact that he's dying inside from the psychological torture is hysterical. And that's the thing. This is supposed to be a humor thing right here, with the mass murder and consumption of 23 human beings by this ethical and moral being who is being torn apart and destroyed mentally, emotionally, and spiritually by what he is being forced to do. So thumbs up for that. And I've opened up 24 hours worth of comments in my community tab. I'm going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. If I mispronounce the username, no disrespect is intended, and even though I count American Sign Language, I didn't even get a time to talk about how time-blind I've been. Jesse Koskinen, always good to see you in the comments. Thumbs up and thank you. Floramu, greatly appreciated. And I've often tried to be much more emotive when playing, but my personality is very understated and very dry. So I just do what I do. But thumbs up and thank you very, very much. And it's good to see you. I'm Confused Owl 29, son of a gun. And then there's 77 ARC tourists. I love the rain all times. It is good. I just wish I have such good hearing. Even at 60, it's ridiculous. Any mild noise that happens keeps me awake. It's joyous. So yeah, I have to wear earplugs every single night for the past like 50 years. Ugh. And then we have, I can't pronounce this, AMARBAYSGALAN. BATBAATAR gives me a thumbs up, so thank you very, very much. And then we have Chris. Chris, thumbs up and thank you very much. Good to see you. MIL, I think, greatly appreciated, from France. Thumbs up and thank you very much. RJ Mitchell, always good to see you in the comments as well. Thumbs up and thank you. And that is it. 8 people who left me comments in the past 24 hours. Even though it's very few, I appreciate it very, very much. I get to deal with people, even if it's only in text and for a short period of time. But that's good. I'm a human being. I don't require much human contact, but I do require some, and I do appreciate that. So, with everything happening in the world, please just take appropriate care and precautions for your situation. If people are being sick, hey, try wearing a mask. Try getting vaccinated. Try, distancing 6 feet. Why get sick if you don't have to? Ugh. And if people are getting hurt where you're going, like there's an earthquake, unless you're trying to help people, don't just wander in and like start pushing stuff over. That would be bad. And of course, if you're out walking and you hear the mournful howl of the bus horn, that bus with your name on it, well, it might not actually have your name. It might be somebody else's. You could see it racing toward you and splash! The guy next to you is smeared across the bus stop in the next building close to you. Human bodies don't usually explode, but you hit them right at the correct angle. Spatch! So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is indeed a very good thing.